Hello, my friends. Hello, my family. We are live. Big shout out. Big shout out to my friend Joe, STFU Shitlib, who always put these amazing videos together. But hope you guys enjoyed it. He always make amazing videos. I think I'm gonna call this video. I think I'm gonna call this series late night RBN. I don't know. I used to joke with CJ all the time. I'm horrible with coming up with show names. So that's why you always see CJ doing it. I'm not that guy. But my friend Joe, he just had a video exposing the bad faith actors who criticized Jimmy. And that video that Jimmy posted got like 200,000 views. So our friend Joe is on the up and up. That's it was a great video to see because like I said in that video, I do have Joe Biden derangement syndrome. How can anyone have Trump derangement syndrome without having Joe Biden derangement syndrome? When Joe Biden built the system that Trump abused, everything that made Donald Trump evil, everything that made Donald Trump a white nationalist, that came from Joe Biden. So the number one thing that they will bring up on why Donald Trump is the worst of the worst, why he's a fascist, why we must oppose him no matter what, even if it means signing with a racist fascist like Joe Biden, was because of his statements on the border, because he was illegally deporting asylum seekers and he had kids in cages. That was the trigger that turned people who were otherwise anti-establishment or at least progressive, right? And then all of a sudden they became the biggest Biden bros of all time. Even though Joe Biden and Barack Obama, the deporter in chief in his goon, they illegally deported more people than Donald Trump did when you compare the first term to first term. Donald Trump was the big law and order guy, and that's why we're supposed to be afraid of him. But then Joe Biden took office, and now the Democratic Party is running on increasing the police state. They tried to pass a U.S. domestic terrorism bill, which would essentially been the crime bill 3.0, right? Because we already had 2.0. So, but that was blocked by Republicans. So you had Joe Biden that is building upon all the systems that they claim made Trump evil, like the police, for example. What is the biggest disrespect? We got great guests today. We have Delilah. She's running for governor in Texas in the Green Party. Our friend Dantel, unapologetic. Ben Watson, we had him on show. I'm very excited to have him back on. But liberals pretend that they understand critical race theory, right? Well, critical race theory explains that we shouldn't focus so much on the individual. Even though that's very problematic for someone to have racist views, our main focus should be on the institutions. Which is why whenever I hear people say critical race theory is divisive, how we literally looking at the institutions instead of pointing the finger at individual people. So how could that be divisive? That is the most Marxist analysis you can have in our culture. Looking at the prison industrial complex, looking at how that destroys the wages of Black, brown, and working class Americans, right? And that's why I wanted to bring Delilah and I want to have Dantel on, because they're really good on the issues of policing. And first, I want to introduce Delilah. Let me know if you're ready to go. With thumbs up, you good to go? All right, awesome. This is a friend of the show. Always love having Base Delilah on. Brandon.
Thanks, Nick.
Always good talking to you. Always good talking to you. Because you're not one of the people who try and be a careerist, right? Because if you would, you would have run for governor in the Democratic Party. Because you would have did a Nina Turner excuse. Oh, it's too hard. I gotta join the imperialists.
Yeah.
So do you want
the lesser of two evils? So
before I introduce Dantel, do you want to get a quick rundown on what got you interested in running for governor and your kind of quick background into you, so people have a good idea who you are, Delilah, and then I'll bring in you next, Dantel.
Great. Yes. Well, as you mentioned, I'm running for governor of Texas on the Green Party ticket, but I'm also a mom and a healthcare worker, and I'm Indigenous, and I'm an artist. We do a lot, and I just worked a 12-hour shift, so I'm a little tired. But yeah, I think what's most important to know me is the things that I'm fighting for. I have been fighting for consistently, and it's like all of these measures, they seem radical, but they're really just at this point the most sustainable thing that we can do.
Yeah, we have no other choice because this level of capitalism is not sustainable. I just read today that there are a bunch of airline workers going on strike. I saw JB retweet it, and I swear to God, I am reading these headlines almost every day, where it's like these
Yeah.
workers they feel, and the sub headline. To be clear, I did not read the whole article to be clear, but the sub headline was like they feel like they was overworked, they're underpaid.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how many industries is this? Because I just saw the airlines protesting, restaurant people like. I feel
Yes.
like our system is falling apart. Do you want to add to that, and then I'll bring you in next, Dantel?
It's true. I mean, going through the pandemic in the healthcare sector was a wide opener, like just big eye opener for a lot of people, and kind of just made it more real how like desperate our healthcare systems are. So we're still recovering from that. There's still COVID is still a thing. Uh, it's ongoing, and Alabama workers have been on strike for over a year. Some of the, I mean, and it's not highly reported on, but it's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to take this time to bring in my friend Dantel. You good to go? Thumbs up. You good to go? All right, great. So let's get Dantel in. My great friend Unapologetic. Has been a while since we had you on the channel. Welcome to RBN Unapologetic.
Thanks for having me on, Nick. Hey, Delilah, how you doing? I'm
Okay.
glad to be on. Haven't been live in a while. I'm
Yeah,
glad I
good to
could,
see you again, man.
make a appearance on this stream, especially because I had some things to talk about specifically around the cops and how they really don't do shit. And honestly, I want to have a broader conversation about because like the default for many people in this country after they've been propagandized for their whole life is that the cops are like a asset to the community, like they provide something to the community. But honestly, my takeaway now after what I've seen and like years of following these stories about like uh, just how out of control and lawless law enforcement is, the people who's supposed to be enforcing the law, um, how out of control they are, it's clear to me that they're more of a liability than an asset. So I want to definitely have a conversation about that. And we're gonna it's unavoidable that we're gonna talk about defund the police because you can't understand that the police, like I said, they're more of a liability than an asset, and still say be against defund the police for any reason you might want to make up.
It's been super hilarious watching people cover the Uvalde police story without coming to that same conclusion. They try and dance around it the best they can. Me and CJ explained how liberals, they were trying their best to make it about guns. And we was like, no, motherfucker, this is a story about police incompetence, despite how much you guys are trying to make it otherwise. And people who see the cops allow kids to die, then there's other stories of cops allowing people to die. And then now there's this point where liberals have to come to accept what advocates of the defund police have been saying from day one. And I have seen people that's to my right, at least online. I am online a lot, right? So I did see a lot of these people like, man, maybe defund the police people was right. I saw Brown Gray tweeting out defund the police. And I am seeing people adjust their position ever since we started RBN. And I will get you right back into Lyle. But before I want to do that, I want to invite my amazing friend. I love the image you put for this thing too, Zoya. I co-founded Tandem Man with Zoya. She's been a long time activist, especially calling out the police state, but among other things. But the police is where she's the strongest, and it's great to have you here. Zoya is love. Zoya is life. How you doing, my friend?
Awesome. Hi, Nick. Hi, Delilah. Good to see both of you again. Actually, all three of you on Apologetic as well. So you told me we're going to be hating on the police, and I decided this would be a great time to join.
Zoya's a real one because all I do is text Zoya and be like, yo, we about to bash the police today. You down? She's like, hell yeah.
Yes. Zoya's good people. I'm happy to talk to you again. It's nice.
Yeah, so I'm loving this panel because when it comes to talking about the police, couldn't have three better people here. So this should be a good one. I see a few people in the chat saying this as well. Please like the stream. Please share. so we can help radicalize our American brothers and sisters, especially on this topic. And I'm gonna introduce the topic this way, right? Because we're gonna get into police and defund the police, but I really want to get your guys' take, especially Delilah, because you're in Texas, right? Especially with the whole Uvalde thing. There's this giant Uvalde police cover-up, and this being exposed is glorious as abolition. Not the situation, right? The situation is sad, but I am glad people are finally starting to wake up on how incompetent the police is. Now I am seeing people, I swear to God, blue check liberals are now tweeting shit like, you guys know that cops legally don't have the right to defend you? Isn't that fucked up? Like, it's slow drip. And now the people that are liberals, they're going to slowly start walking away. The people who are paid, they won't, right? But the people who maybe watch them, who have no like financial interest in being a liberal, they're going to slowly start shifting to our side. And we have seen that recently. So I'm gonna go around the panel and get you guys thoughts on this. But this is, and I'm gonna share you guys a few headlines with the Uvalde police. This is the first one. Vice got a horrible website, don't they? They can hide in the headline. Look at that. What is that? But anyway, Uvalde hires private law firm to argue it doesn't have to release school shooting public records. Now I'm asking you guys, if they was protecting and serving, if they was doing what they are supposed to do, why are they so scared to release the public records? Now there are a lot of theories coming out that, hey, shit, the cops might have killed a kid or so. Right?
They're likely to have fucked up somewhere. That's
Absolutely.
just their norm, right? Sorry.
No, guys, feel free to interrupt when I'm doing my presentation here. If you guys want to chime in, feel free to interrupt with anything. I would love to hear from you guys as well. But think about this. Uvalde hires private law firm. Pause. Now, do liberals even think about this kind of stuff? Like, where is this money coming from? Do fiscal conservatives ever think about this? Like, so Uvalde hires private law firm with what money? The money they steal from the people. Uvalde Police Department takes 40% of the city's budget. So I'm gonna pull this tweet and I'm gonna pass it around the panel here. This is why, if you are class conscious, if you consider yourself even a social democrat, to be honest, I know we got criticism of social democrats, but even if you're a social democrat, you should be supporting defund the police. If you're a pro worker in any way, shape, or form, if you believe in democracy in any shape or form, you should be for defunding the police and allow communities to allocate the funds the way they want, right? So this is what our taxpayers in this unhinged capitalist police state demands of us. With our taxes, we don't get health care. I gotta see homeless people everywhere because my brothers and sisters are allowed to go homeless because our taxpayers don't provide housing. But instead, this is what it provides. We pay for the police in their giant salaries, right? Make way more than teachers. I think the average, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going on top of my head, but I think the average NYPD cop made like $150,000, $125,000 a year. Something fucking insane. Probably more than that, probably understating. But so
don't forget the money in the unions. There's there's billions there.
Absolutely. So we got paid the private lawyers to defend the police when the police are bad. Let's go back to this headline. Uvalde taxpayers are paying for the fact that their cops allowed to kill kids
and teachers.
How fucked up is that? And teachers too. Important. Thank you for bringing that up. Now let's continue this tweet because this is a great tweet. Pay for private lawyers to prevent the release of public records. Pay for the investigation into police and any litigation that arises, and we pay out damages. So do you guys see when I frame it this way? Do you guys see how unbelievably ridiculous it is to be against the concept of defunding the police? But I'm gonna start with Delilah, and then we go Dontel and Zoya, so you guys can give any thoughts on what I read, especially Delilah, because you're in Texas. You can also kind of chime in on what you're hearing on the ground, like what's your criticism of the Uvalde police. Go ahead, take away Delilah, and then we go Dontel next.
I mean, I have had nothing but criticism of the Uvalde police since I first heard of what happened. I'm a radicalized in part to them. You know what I'm saying? Because of the things I've experienced and the things I've learned and had to deal with. And that's just part of the expectation. And I'm trying like hell to get people to get with the expectation that they shouldn't be in your communities causing you harm. Like, and it's so hard to like push through those boundaries, because I do meet a lot of propagandized people that are like, thin blue line types, but after this, they don't even have, they can't say anything like that. You know what I'm saying? They're all quiet about their support for police, and it's just, I don't even know if it's enough. I hope it is. I'm pretty tired. Like, as a mom, as a person who works to dedicate their life to helping help save other people's lives, I'm not okay with this. This isn't an excusable loss of life by any measure. And it's in part of the institution. The prison industrial complex serves nobody besides capitalists, let alone the communities. And my thoughts are that defund should be the first thing to come to your mind, because every single dollar, like you said, it's taken away from the children and the teachers and the workers and the community members. And when you think of it like that and you frame it that way, I think people can understand that, it's nothing but a waste of money, the whole entire department.
Well, so I'm gonna get Dontel. Is there anything you want to add to our presenter, or anything you want to add to what Delilah was saying as well?
Yeah, so there are many every aspect of this cover up is outrageous, and the whole incident. But there are two things that can't be lost in the whole thing. One is that 19 kids and 2 adults were killed, and during the entire incident, the police were on the scene, and they didn't do anything for the entire time. And so they're responsible for that. And that's why the public should have access to the records to find out exactly what happened. But then on top of that is this giant cover up. First of all, what I want to make a point of is that this isn't like some one-off incident. You see how smoothly everything is working? They do cover-ups like this all the time. There is no nobody come like breaking ranks. There's nobody saying, what the fuck is going on in the police department? This is crazy. We just let 19 kids get killed. We were sitting there on the scene, and we didn't actually. Let me rephrase that. They did not do anything. Their only contribution to the entire event was handcuffing parents and preventing them from going inside the school. That was literally their only contribution. And people keep saying, "Oh, they waited outside for an hour." No, they would have waited even longer. But vigilantes were the ones who went into the classroom. So for the entire event, their only contribution was preventing people from saving their kids. And then the entire police department, the local city council, the governor's office, the attorney general, everybody in the state is now actively participating in the cover-up of something this heinous. So again, it brings the broader question of, similar to the point you were making about how they're using public funds to do all this stuff. How often is this apparatus of like intergovernmental agencies used to deceive the public and hide information from the public that they need to know? So I think those are important questions that people should be asking right now.
Yeah, guys, this is one that I think this was the most deadly school shooting since Parkland, right? So you had the national media hone in on Uvalde. There was a defense lawyer, I believe. She was saying that based on her experience with the Uvalde police, don't believe anything that they say because they're known to lie. Police have been known to lie about the reports. There was just a rapper. I covered this on the earlier stream. Young Moose? I don't know, guys. I'm old as fuck. Young Moose, he won a settlement where they caught the cops planting crack cocaine on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he only won that because he had a lawyer that was able to prove that, and they won that lawsuit. Imagine how many times that happened. There's that viral video of the policeman who actually got caught on video by one of the people that watched on the scene planting drugs on someone. How many times do you guys think this stuff happens, but they are never caught? And then they got the entire system that would defend them, and the media that usually will run their lives. But in this case, the story is just too damn big. Now, before I would get Zoya in here, I wanted to add some more context, especially to what Dante was saying. So you had the Uvalde police who, at first, they were saying, "Oh, we didn't have a key to the door. We were trying to get the key to the door." Now, check this out. This came out, at least I saw it today, right? And I saw a lot of people tweeting about it today. Look, breaking. multiple officers inside Robb Elementary School with rifles and at least one ballistic shield at 11:52 a.m. the day of the shooting. New video and other evidence shows they didn't enter the classroom for another 58 minutes. You see these cowards? And for one, what the hell is this guy doing? the guy with the shotgun next to that shield. So they literally was standing outside,
Doing nothing
because they don't have to protect you. They don't have to serve you. Now I want to get Zoya in here. Do you have anything you want to add to the conversation?
You know I do. Well, first I thought that the cops actually did do something. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I heard that the cops went in and got their children before everyone else's. So they did do something. They weren't too scared to go in and do something for themselves. It was just everyone else's kids. It didn't matter. Which is, just goes to show a thesis we've stated many times in the org on the show, that cops do not prevent crime. They do not do anything except suck up resources, over 50% of budgets in most major cities. And on Nick's point, you were asking about how much an average cop makes per year in New York. It's 64 to 85,000, which is definitely significantly more than teachers. And the reason we have cops is social control and to protect capital. Propaganda sells the idea that we need to be scared of each other and give away our power to some authority figure. And then once we do that, statistically, we know that cops solve less than 2% of all major crimes. And the amount it takes to imprison someone per year, we could be paying for their college and housing. So it's just an ineffective system, and we're not allowed to analyze it from the perspective of solutions that actually prevent crime, and that's by solving poverty.
Well, so I want to get your thoughts on this. Cause Zoya always has the receipts. She sent me this, and I think I saw this headline. I didn't get a chance to dive into it, but U.S. prison workers produce $11 billion worth of goods and services for little to no pay at all. So I'm going to read the first two paragraphs here. Despite producing nearly $11 billion worth of goods and services each year, incarcerated workers in the U.S. earn an average of just between 13 cents and 52 cents per hour across the country, according to this report. This is the report right here, said that wages are low in that in most cases the government takes up to 80% of the pay for room and board, court costs, restitution, and other fees, including the construction and maintenance of prisons. So remember when we told you guys that capitalism cannot exist without slavery? So Zoya, do you want to add anything to that since you sent me that amazing link?
No, just that was actually to Delilah's point as well, that we have this prison industrial complex that besides social engineering, basically with these cop enforcers, we're also creating this modern day slavery where all of these companies, there is something like 10,000 companies, they use prison labor as basically free labor or pennies. So a lot of the goods and services that we use in this predatory system actually are built on the fact that these people get imprisoned mostly for petty crimes. 75% of the people in jails haven't even been charged with a crime, and then they are exploited in order to enable this system.
I want go ahead. Dante, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, so I want to add to that because to what the point that Zoya is making, because there isn't how would I want to phrase this? With the police departments, they don't really like she mentioned, there's something rotten going on here. They don't do what they claim to do. They don't solve crime and they don't prevent crime. They could be on the scene while something like horrific like a massacre is happening and they won't do anything. So again, they're getting 50% of police budgets and Uvalde of city budgets, and Uvalde they were getting 40% of the city budget. And nobody, I'll challenge any single person in the country who is still defending policing and the system of policing that we have. I dare anybody to come out here and actually make a case for as to why you think it is the police actually protect and serve the community. They don't do that. So if that's the case and they're getting all this money, what are they actually doing? Like Zoe said, they're there for social control. They're there to be the foot soldiers for capitalists, and the prison industrial complex, labor slave complex. That's part of it, because they arrest people for bullshit on the streets. They poor people who can't defend themselves in court, and then they put them in these prison systems and they use their labor to make capitalists rich. So that's really what's going on here. And I feel like regular people, when it comes to like law enforcement and the police, it's hard to get them to like view everything in context, because it's kind of scary. Like you have this well-armed like lawless gang of people who have like unlimited power to do whatever they want in the communities, and they're completely unaccountable to anybody. And if you want to, like, if you reckon with that, that's kind of scary. And then the fact that they're just targeting people who can't defend themselves on the street and then locking them up so that people can make money off of it, that's fucking gross. So I don't understand how people can claim we live in a democracy and allow this police state to function unabated and just go about their lives and act like this doesn't happen, and at the same time be against the funded police.
And I don't know what, like, not us, right? But there's like people who are like social democrats, progressives, who they kind of run away from this issue because they're scared it's gonna hurt Democrats. But it's like this is the issue that exposes our liberal democracy more than anything. Right now, we just played a video where Max Boot was talking about, Ron DeSantis. Well, both of them really. Ron DeSantis was like, we are a country of freedom, and Colombia is a authoritarian country. It's like we imprison 1/4 of the world's prison population. We literally steal the wages of workers and funding the police more. That's how I consider it. Now I want to get you in here, Delilah. I'm gonna share these quick headlines. I'm gonna share this headline. I literally just saw this, and this is insane, right? So a top law enforcement official said that there was enough armed police officers wearing body armor to stop the mass shooting at Uvalde, Texas, within 3 minutes. Instead, the police waited for hours. Once again, look, guys, look at this search. I would never would see this shit come from NPR. This is how bad it is. Now, I just saw this while I was doing some research, right?
Is that one of the teachers?
You said what?
Is that one of the teachers?
Yeah. Look at this. Check this out. Slain Uvalde teacher Eva Morales called her husband, a police officer, and told him that she had been shot and was dying. So he didn't give a fuck about rushing in before that, but then at least when he heard his wife was dying, he tried to go help her, and he was detained. And they took away his gun and escorted him off the scene. These people should be begging.
I mean, it's evil, right? This is just evil.
I'm speechless. Like, you should be lucky to not get a manslaughter charge for this. But Delilah, I would love to hear your thoughts.
I hadn't heard that.
I just saw it.
No, I didn't know. I mean, a lot of people have been a bit, I won't say a bit, everybody that I know has been feeling this and trying to process, I guess. And, like, most of my colleagues work in the hospital too, so it's crazy to think about that level of trauma, that level of injury, that level of, like, human suffering on children, on babies. And then we hear, you and I know very well that there's a lot of traumatic things that happen within police families, but the public doesn't know about that. And the reason is these institutions can afford not only the lawyers and everything else that is always going to put them above the law, but they have PR firms. And they are able to spend a lot of money on media. There's a guy on Twitter, Equality Alec. I don't know if you follow him, but he uncovers a lot of the media bias and reporting on crime and things like that. And they did a big case in Houston a because they've got a cash bail system, and it was really unfair. They found a lot of judges on video, doing terrible things. Basically, just on the daily, human rights abuses are the norm in this state. I don't know how else to phrase it so that you're understanding, or that people, lay people are really understanding. Like this thing that happened in Uvalde, the people who treated the victims were well prepared and trained because they'd already had to deal with the mass shooting event. Like they already did. And we've already butted so many times in the healthcare sector and the police sector and the prison industrial sector. We're incompatible because you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we have patients that are inmates, and it's like so hard to advocate for patients already, and then you put cops into the mix, and it's just even harder. It's just so hard to deal with it on a regular basis. Like I've talked to my kids several times about this, and there was a Walmart shooting, and they're usually targeting brown and black people. I mean, those children died.
Your audio was breaking up a little bit.
What's that?
It was going in and out a little bit. I hear you a little bit better now. I want to get Zoe in here, but I want to share this too because I got plenty of receipts. I want to share with you guys. But look at this. The Uvalde police fucked up so much that you have the police, the Texas police. They're now throwing them under the bus. And now, guys, I want you to understand what this is really about. This is really about the Uvalde police that made people look so dumb. So now the police are like, oh, we disavow this. But all right, let me share this tweet, and then I'll give you guys thoughts on it. It said, breaking in the strongest terms possible, the head of the Texas State Police had just condemned the law enforcement response in Uvalde, calling it an abject failure and antithetical to anything that we learned over the past 2 decades. In my response to them, I'm not even gonna give them a golf clap because that's what they want. They want that golf clap. And you're not getting it from me, buddy. It's not happening to me. So, as many people explain, the police do not have a legal obligation to protect you. And these same people that are condemning Uvalde, I promise you they won't either. They wouldn't either. So they're trying to, and I've noticed this multiple times where I've seen police in like Philadelphia, New York, LAPD, where they're like, we condemn this. Guys, you do the same fucking thing. The federal precedent that outlined the fact that they don't have to protect us. That was started in Florida. I think there was another case in Nevada where that came up as well. There's not just a one department incident. And now Uvalde incompetence made it so police all over this country has to justify their wages now. And they do not like it. They do not like it. But I would love to get Zoya in here. You can respond to anything that any of us said, or if you want to respond to that. Anything you want to add, Zoya?
Just that, the solutions that we propose are actually based on science, and their data just does not support that us having police or increasing police funding actually decreases crime in any way. It's often that we see police enter an area and get more funding, and then arrests increase, and that way the statistics for crime data increases. But the same guy, Quality Alec, has been saying that it's a manufactured crisis, that crime rates are some of their lowest right now, but the only reason the media is creating this narrative is so that they can increase police funding, because they are concerned about civil unrest as inflation rises, as people don't have enough gas to get to work, as food shortages are happening, and people just can't keep up with the cost of living. So that is just something interesting to notice, as well as a development in the Supreme Court regarding your Miranda rights, which means you still have the right to remain silent, be represented by a lawyer, and to not incriminate yourself, but the cops can lie to you about it. So the Supreme Court is passing several little legal loopholes that are strengthening the power of the police state and decreasing our rights.
Oh yeah, it's a all-prone attack by all 3 branches of our government to strengthen the police, and we know why they're doing this, because people are becoming more class conscious. Capitalism is continuing to fail the workers, And as social unrest increase, you have to have a strong national security state to keep the workers that are being exploited in line. Now, I want to back up what Zoya said, because you guys already know. I always want to show the receipts to you guys. So just look at this. Because the police have PR departments, they literally have people that are designed just to increase their budget. So it literally does not matter what the stats say, guys. Every fucking year they're gonna be like, crime is up, crime is up, crime is up, fund is more, crime is up. I got 2 headlines. I'll pass it to Delilah and then we go Dontel next. FBI report on crime shows decline in violent crime rate for the 3rd consecutive year. Now here's another one. Crime rates in the largest U.S. cities continue to drop. In 2018, crime rates in the 30 largest U.S. cities declined for the 2nd straight year, reaching near record lows. And there have been times where the police straight up was like, "Oh my God, crime is on the rise. We got violent crime everywhere." And then they were like, "Fucking the numbers haven't even been released this year. What the fuck are you talking about?" But anyway, let's start with Delilah and Dontel, because there's a lot to talk about there. But I want to get you guys in here. You guys have anything you want to add?
So I just noticed that it's the same trend of fear tactics that conservatives use to push their legislation, their plans. It's a fear mongering, of the public, of the general public, and the media is obviously complicit often in that. So yeah, you got a lot of people ill-informed or uninformed intentionally, and that's part of the problem. I think it's really, if you do have class consciousness, you understand that it's just a exploitive capitalistic network. I mean, these things are like cancer cells. Every single time it's gonna just get to a point that it just consumes. It's ever consuming, and then it leaves places, without regular resources that they need. And it's such an easy argument to make to defund the police, but I know people. Let me just elaborate on what happened in Austin, because there were people out for George Floyd protests for, I think, about a year or more, like consistently. And it was great. And they were able to defund their police department. And then in the months after that, and the reason is because there was a lot of documentation of them, harming people. I think a lot of people got hurt by the police during those years. Because of the ballistics they were firing into crowds, they were peaceful crowds, but they used ballistics anyway, like non-lethal. And a lot of people, we had some people die in Austin because of that. And so they defunded, they were able to do more for the social programs, they were doing fine. And then the police retaliated against people. They wouldn't come out when people called them, and it just enforces that fact that we know they don't exist to help us. The more of us realize that, come to terms with that, the better it's going to be for everyone.
Yep, and that's part of our 10 demands, right, is the education. That's the step. And I think, man, if you asked me like 2 years ago, I covered the initial polling of the defunded police, where it was always popular with Black people, but the first polling showed it at like -35 or something like that. Now we got vast majority of independents, 55% independents. Majority of Democrats supported, and that was as of 2020. Like, I would love to see the numbers now. Like the amount that we have gained in this movement, I would never have predicted, because the education in our argument is so strong. Dontel, do you want to chime in anything else you want to add?
Yeah, the point that you enjoy making about how this is consistent in different police departments. I don't have the tweet with me right now, but a couple of days ago, I saw somebody post something about, because I was doing research for an article that I'm trying to write about the police, and they posted something about other response times to mass shootings, and there were 2 other mass shootings I could, like in the main tweet. One of them was the shooting at Pulse nightclub in Orlando, and the police, there was actually a lawsuit. Some of the victims in the nightclub, they actually sued the police department because they were waiting outside for hours while the gunman was still in the club shooting people. So this is a regular thing. Like, again, we keep talking about, they keep getting all this money, and then when you think you would need them, they'll just sit around and not do anything. So yeah, I just want to keep in mind the point that this is all interconnected, and similar to the point about the cover up too. Like the machine that they're using as a part of the cover up. So the PR department, the police department, the city council, and all this stuff. This is the same machine that they use when it's a instance of police brutality, and they want to cover that up. Or if it's some elites in the community doing crime, and they want to suppress it. Because again, police don't arrest rich people or politicians or anybody connected to them. So the same machine is going to come out and cover up for them too. So again, it just I want to reinforce the point that this is just a giant apparatus used against the public that they claim to be protecting. And I want to bring up one of the 10 demands that you guys came up with. Which is the community oversight board, because I honestly, out of all the demands are great, but I think that one really would cut through to everything. If the people in the community, just regular citizens in the community, not politicians or just regular citizens, had complete oversight over police departments and writing their procedures, had they be like, and if that was the case in Uvalde right now, the records would have been released from the mass shooting. So I think that is a very important part of any demands to address the police.
I appreciate the shout out. And since you mentioned it, here's the demand, and I'm gonna get Zoya in here as well. I'll pass it to you next, but this is obviously me and Zoya found 10 demands. And our demand number 6 was install community representation, oversight, and safety measures. Elect independent community councils for needs assessment, municipal decision making and oversight, prioritizing representation by marginalized groups, invest in community-based public safety measures, including peacekeepers and wellness checks, intervention, violence prevention, skill-based education, mental health services, substance abuse treatment, mutual aid, mediation and reparation justice, mandate state-level monitoring for proper checks and balances. Now, before I pass it to Zoya, I want to read this comment. This is a great comment from Anna Jackson. She always leaves great comments on here because this is a great point as well, right? That I could have brought up, but I didn't want to derail my thought too much, right? And this is a conversation we have all the time. What is a crime, right? Shooting someone, smoking weed, having a drink in public, or loitering. I see shooting someone as a crime, but the last 3, I doubt it. And now this is an important question that we must ask the voting class, right? What is a crime? Do they mark down a crime when we illegally bomb and kill civilians overseas? When an ICE detention migrant is sexually assaulted by the ICE detention officers, is that a crime? When the military poisons the waters of the Black community, like I have covered, when the Navy poisons the water of indigenous Hawaiians, is that a crime? When Wall Street illegally crashes the economy by forging signatures and committing financial fraud against many members of the Black community, like they did in 2008, is that a crime? So who is dictating what is a crime and what's not a crime? In our country, is the capitalist class. So I would love to pass. I want to pass it to Zoya if you want to add anything to that, or if you want to add anything in general.
Yeah, crime is the thing you do when you're not rich.
Right.
So yeah, insider trading. Politicians doing insider trading. That's 100% legal.
It depends on who's doing the crime, because if it's the wealthy, if it's, then they're, and especially right now with this push with the police being, ever since they've been more militarized, it's been more of an issue, right? The circumstances, the instances have been higher of them fucking up, because there's no other nice way to say it. They fuck up a lot. and some have to guess that it's intentional, so they too, they're clearly above the law in practice, and they protect, they protect the ruling class. And whose interests are tied into harming people, and that's what I just that's what I think about a lot, is like it's often the ones who are more helpless, like homelessness is a crime. Like it's a crime to not be able to survive this capitalistic hellhole. And like throwing people in jail is helping them. No, it's not.
if you guys think crimes have anything else to do other than just pure class and our caste system, a lot of Americans don't even realize we live in a caste system. So Hunter Biden can have drug problems, and he just seen as a problem child. But if that was me and Dante, we'd be in fucking prison right now for what Hunter Biden did. So I want you guys to decolonize your mind and rethink what you think is a crime, right? Dante, I think he was gonna chime in, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
So the whole idea of like bringing up the question about what is crime is just one of those things, the conversations that just completely expose the myth of like any sort of like rational policing in this country, because we all know the people who do the most crime and the most egregious crime on the largest scale are the richest and the elites, the people who make decisions whether people live or die. Corruption and things like that. Like you said, the endless wars and the imperialism and the massacres and genocide for profit we're doing in other countries. Like those are giant crimes. Those are the biggest crimes you can commit on the planet. Is any police department in the country investigating any executives at Raytheon or Boeing or anything like that for their participation in war crimes? Are there any police departments investigating in New York investigating Wall Street for their insider trading, or the well-known drug trade in the trade, like the Wall Street community, like all these traders doing coke and shit like that? You remember the JP Morgan Chase ship that got seized with a bunch of coke and shit like that? Like the police don't do raids and shit of Wall Street for the trap houses on Wall Street. No, they don't do that shit. So it's exclusively all of their energy is focused on people, like I said, who cannot defend themselves, people who do not have lawyers, people who cannot cause a scene if you arrest them and you bring them to jail, people who don't have connections to judges and politicians and police chiefs and shit like that. It's regular people who are the most defenseless under capitalism. That's who police go after.
Well said. Zoya, you have anything else that you want to add? Anything you want to add? I want to get you back in here. I think I kind of interrupted you last time. Hopefully not. Anything else you want to add before I move on?
I was going to make your point about Hunter Biden, and it goes back to what I'm saying. If you're rich, well, you do it. And we have racial disparities as well. But if you are rich, you can get away with doing anything in this country. And this is a country where slavery was once legal, where anal sex was once illegal. Our laws are ridiculous. And the only people that they're enforced on are the people that cannot buy their way out of the system. So the establishment likes to pretend that people like us who are proposing science-based public safety solutions simply don't care about crime. But it's not that. It's just that we've seen the data and we know who you're arresting.
We understand what is really public safety. That's what it's public safety. What is public safety? How do you keep people safe? Having people out on the street homeless is not public safety. That's what the people who are actually serious. There's a small percentage of people in this conversation that's serious. Abolitionists, we are the only ones. Isn't it funny people consider it the exact opposite? The whole point of a state, the social contract, is to provide safety and security. Our police do not provide safety and security. Us not having healthcare makes it so we are not safe and we are not secure. People not having housing, that is not safe, that is not secure. I will make the argument that our social contract has been violated a long time ago.
Yes.
Right? But I want because I want to keep these this late show to about an hour. So I want to shift gears because we got like another 10 minutes and then we sign off here. Because I also want to talk about Julian Assange for like the last 10 minutes here. Because I found this video and everyone knows that the UK decided to extradite Julian Assange. And I think it fits well in the stream because we talking about things that expose the hypocrisy of this quote unquote liberal democracy. You have the policing, the one thing that exposes our democracy the most, and then you have the way we treat journalists and quote unquote Julian Assange, where we want to pretend that Russia, this crazy authoritarian state, we want to pretend China, all these places are authoritarian states, and we claim that we believe in freedom of press, but we believe in freedom of exposing other countries, our enemies, right? But if you exposing Israel, if you're exposing the United States, you will be the enemy. You will be assassinated like Shireen Abdul Akla, or you'll be tortured slowly like Julian Assange. And one of my favorite genres of politics is China calling out the United States for their hypocrisies. So this is why I want to wrap up the stream with this, and I'll give you guys thoughts on this as well. But this is China calling out the hypocrisy of the United States. Now, this is he's speaking Chinese here. So I'm gonna keep the audio low, and I'm gonna just read what he said, just in case you're only listening. So I'm gonna turn this down, and I'll read what he says as I play the video. The WikiLeaks website founded by Assange has exposed a large amount of information about the United States waging war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and revealed the fact that the United States CIA carried out cyber hacking attacks. For this reason, the United States government has, for more than a decade, filed unwarranted charges of sexual harassment, espionage, and computer misuse against Assange, and continuously suppressed Assange through secret surveillance, global pursuit, and behind-the-scene deals and other means. The U.S. will be satisfied. Well, I don't know why they skipped that last part super fast. Hold on, what do you say? The U.S. would be satisfied with nothing short of his arrest. Britain has spared no effort in cooperating with the United States to arrest and extradite Assange and promptly advance the relevant procedures. This fully demonstrates the loyalty of the British side in maintaining a special relationship with the U.S., as well as the fact that the U.S. and Britain are cooperating in the cross-border repression of specific individuals. Assange's case is a mirror which reveals the hypocrisy of the U.S. and British claim to defend press freedom. For them, exposing other countries enjoys full freedom, while exposing their own countries and allies will be severely punished. Those who expose other countries are heroes, while those who expose their own countries and partners are criminals. While it is the political prosecution for other countries to hold the press accountable, it is legal for themselves to suppress the press. The world is paying close attention to Assange's human rights situation and personal fate. We believe that justice will eventually be served, and that hegemony and the power cannot always have their way. So once again, that's always personally my favorite genre. Whenever you have like China calling out the obvious human rights abuses of the United States, and when people try to pretend that we're more free than China, even though they have over 1 billion people, but we imprison more people than them. I'm not saying that they're perfect. I know I want them China stand people, but I'm saying there is no greater threat to freedom and the idea of a liberal democracy than the United States. The last thing I'm gonna bring up here, and then I'll pass it to the panel if you guys want to add anything before we wrap up, because I know you had a long day, Delilah. ACLU on Julian Assange extradition decision, which poses a grave threat to the freedom of the press. These charges establish a dangerous precedent that can be used to target all news organizations holding government accountable by publishing its secrets. I showed before the long list of public rights advocates, free speech advocates, just human rights advocates in general that spoke out in favor of Julian Assange. But for some reason, the progressives they're too good to do that, right? So, do anyone want to add anything? I know we're getting near the end. Do anyone want to chime in before I move on to the next part?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you're an adult, a grown adult in the United States, and similar to the conversation we had, you think that the police are here to protect you, or you think that we have freedom of press and freedom of speech in this country, you are, like I said, you just believe in fairy tales and you're a grown up, and you shouldn't. The whole incident with Julian Assange and him being, I mean, it's one of the most brazen things that I've seen the government do against a journalist for years now. No matter what happens with this court case, for years they've tortured this man. They've isolated him from everybody else. He's been cut off from the internet for years. And again, this is somebody who isn't guilty of even the made up crimes that they have on paper. So this is just somebody who exposed the crimes of government, and it's specifically the national security apparatus and the war machine, and how they were doing genocide for profit in Iraq and Afghanistan. And because of that, in retaliation, they're going to make his life hell. And it's brought us to this point where now they kidnapped him, dragged him out of the embassy, did the whole show trial at Belmarsh for like 3 years now, and now they're finally about to extradite him to the United States. And I don't know what it's going to take to activate people and because honestly, I think the only way to prevent him from spending the rest of his life in U.S. prison is massive public outrage, and I don't know how to express to people how serious of a threat this is to everyone if no one is allowed to challenge the people in power. So similar to Shireen Abdul in Israel and the other journalists that they shot recently, the U.S. and our allies, Jamal Khashoggi, they will kill you, they'll assassinate you, they'll torture you, and they'll do it in broad daylight and pretend like they care about freedom of speech.
Well said. Delilah, Zoya, you want to add anything before I move on to the last part of the show today? I'm gonna move on. This is the last.
Actually, sorry, I was trying to be polite and let Zoya.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Delilah.
So you guys are, everybody's talking about like other countries and the human rights abuses that the United States perpetuates onto other countries. Can we not forget what they perpetuated on our own soil? As an indigenous person, it's never something that I have forgotten. You know what I'm saying? That freedom and liberation is not supported in this country. I know people hate to think about that, but that is the truth. They've committed genocide against indigenous people long before they even wrote a constitution, you know what I'm saying? So I never could trust the police. I never could trust these institutions. You always have to work around them. And we are at a time right now where we all have to work against them directly, however we can, because that's what the moment calls for. We don't have any more time to be, you know what I'm saying, using half measures.
Well
said. And just to wrap up that point, Jacobin magazine just wrote an article saying that the United States was the 20th century's greatest human rights abuser. So, we have this propaganda that we're bringing all these freedoms and democracy to other countries when we don't even have it here. And even though we're a fifth of the world global population, we have 25% of every human being that's behind bars on earth is right here in America. And I don't think the war industry and the prison industrial complex are separate. It's all part of the same system where we're disconnected from each other. We prefer competition over cooperation, and it's this predatory system that seeps into every part of our society.
Well said. So the last part I want to share you guys this, right? Because I'm developing a theory, right? So I'm covering this different than way most people are going to cover this, right? Look at what Marjorie Taylor Greene said on Julian Assange. So while we can't get Bernie Sanders and AOC to speak on this issue, look who does. Marjorie Taylor Greene. If we really care about the First Amendment, then we should care about Julian Assange. Freedom of the press is the protection of the ability to expose the truth and publish it. This should always be protected. Now, she did a whole thread. You got to see the point she's making, though. So she spoke out on behalf of Julian Assange, quote tweeting Glenn Greenwald of all people, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene. You want to know what else Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke out against? She spoke out against the Ukraine war. Well, she was like, why are we spending all this money? Why are we sending all this money to Ukraine while babies are not being fed, while we have a baby formula shortage? And then she later voted against the bill that would help sped up production for baby formula. So that alone shows that she's playing a role, right? I haven't seen no one else mention this before. At least I don't watch a ton of people, right? But from what I've seen, a lot of people was like, oh my God, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's staying up for them. So between her staying up for Ukraine and her staying up for Julian Assange, guys, I give the establishment zero benefit of doubt. What strategy are they using? They're taking people who are publicly hated, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then they're like, you can talk about this issue. Because they want Marjorie Taylor Greene to talk about Julian Assange in Ukraine. So obviously the average shit lib, or maybe the non-apolitical person, they would be like, Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying that. Holy shit, that must be fucked up. Do you guys agree with that? Like, this is just a theory I have. I think they are allowing people like Marjorie Taylor Greene to say good shit, so people will like think that's the
Delegitimize.
Yeah, absolutely. Go.
Delegitimize the urgency. When you have her talking about human rights violations or budgets, like Rand Paul stopped a budget for more money to Ukraine. I think that it's an effort to delegitimize real anti-war efforts, real First Amendment efforts. It's to try and make us look bad. You know what I'm saying? Like the Democratic establishment. Why don't they want to talk about defunding the police? Because you're the ones that went to go pray in kente cloth and then gave more money to the police. Oh, like it's not. We didn't make that decision for you. Y'all made that decision for you, and we have every right to call it out. And we on the left are often criticized for using our First Amendment rights. I'm sure you've noticed. That's probably part of the angle, is to just make us seem like, like we're the ones who aren't educated enough.
I'm trying to remember the name of the theory because the liberals like always repeat it. Horseshoe theory, right? Where they say if you go so far left, you end up far right. So I told you guys, I give Marjorie Taylor Greene zero benefit of that. I don't think she gives a fuck about any of these issues. She's playing a role, and she's happy to play the role. She is the villain who tweets good things every once in a while. So dum-dums to be like, far left, he goes too far left, you're in the far right, you end up agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Or like they don't want, like, obviously we all hate these people, right? Like we all hate Liz Cheney, right? But Liz Cheney would never say this because liberals like Liz Cheney. They don't want someone who they deem reasonable to come out on these issues. They want the crazies to do it. But I think I made my point. I usually want to keep these evenings, late night streams to about an hour. But before I wrap up, I want to start with Dontel. We go Zoya and then Delilah. Last thoughts, like it could be on sound or policing, anything else you want to wrap the stream up, and also plug and promote anything you want to as well. Dontel, we definitely got to have you on when you release that article. I know you're doing an article on policing. Funny enough, and I am too. Like, I
want to read it.
I'm in the proofreading. I got people looking at my paper. I'm not a professional writer. So I got a follow-up to my original. I released an article, my second article ever on my Substack. Now I'm bringing back now, was the case for defund the police. I dissect the entire police state, right? No, you will never see a pro-police, giant police budget op-ed that is as factual as mine, as I did. I may have to read it to you guys one day. I read it to my old audience back when I wrote it. But my next article, I'm doing a follow-up to that. Like, what was the result of the George Floyd protest? How did the police state react in retaliation? How that affects the class dynamics? But anyway, that's coming out soon. I'll cover it. And when hopefully we don't sound too similar. We both releasing costs.
No, it's now that you told me what yours is about, it's they will be good together, but they're different directions. So I'll definitely want to read yours, and I think
we definitely got to talk about it. But go ahead, don't tell me anything else you want to promote.
What I want to, I know y'all already do it on RBN all the time, but shout out Rome and his tour for the poor. Y'all going? I think he's going to Kansas City next.
Yep. It's gonna be dope. We're gonna do some community building here, and I'm gonna continue to expand off that as well. So it's dope. And
I know CJ does his in the Skid Row. So shout out to that too, and everybody else at RBN doing mutual aid. What else? Oh, I'm gonna be back on my channel tonight. I'll do a live stream since I'm off work. So look out for that. I'll be live about 12:30. I know I don't usually announce them. I just show up, but you guys got a heads up this time. And thank you for having me on. I really wanted to come on and shit on the police with somebody because it's hard to find people as anti-police and fuck the cops as we are. So it's good when we all get together and shit on the police. It's very cathartic, and it was nice talking to y'all.
Absolutely, always good. We gotta have you back on when you can make it unapologetic. And I have seen, and I don't know, maybe I'll get into too credit, but I've seen more people talk about the police state ever since we hit the scene, because I cover this shit almost every single live I do. Like, this is like, we'll lead on state violence and the police, right? Now, before I pass it to Delilah, I'm gonna just quickly plug myself here, because look at this. You will never see a police state bootlicker have an op-ed with the amount of quotes, amount of stats. I got links everywhere. Like, it's a long article. I take every single argument that giant police state people take, and I debunk it using facts, history. Now, look how long it is. It took me a lot of work to do this. So, the point is, the argument is on our side. So, I'll put the link in the comments if you guys want to check it out. But, Delilah, anything you want to wrap up the stream with? Anything you want to plug or promote?
I just thank you for your time and energy. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to have these conversations because they're really important to have. And it's nice to find community with people that are like-minded about the same issues. So it's really good to meet you, Dontel. Nick, Zoya, as always, it's a pleasure. I am running for office in Texas against these neoliberals and neocons. And I will be on the ballot in November. So please tell your friends they can vote for somebody who actually gives a shit in November for governor. I'm right here. And then I just wanted to plug this book by Mr. Alex Vitale, The End of Policing. I just started reading it recently. And I wanted to just push that so we could have more of these relevant conversations. And thanks.
Yeah. So if you're in Texas, I'm jealous because you got someone that you can actually vote for. So if anything, just go vote for Delilah for the governor if you're in Texas, right? So this is her website, Delilah for Texas. Make sure you guys check her out. Now I'm gonna pass it to Zoya, but before I do, I'm gonna read the screenshot you sent me. This is the crimes of Julian Assange, right? Reveal Guantanamo Bay, policy of hiding prisoners, document that Iraqi civilian deaths were underreported by at least 15,000. Shared cables which show no one was killed in the Tiananmen Square on June 4th, 1989. Showed that the NSA spied on at least 3 French presidents. Revealed that the U.S. tapped the phone of German leader Angela Merkel. Paid for NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden's Hong Kong flight and hotel. Disclosed NSA spying on Japanese government. Published cables verifying U.S. secret drone strikes in Yemen. Showed that Saudi Arabia made major cash contributions to the Clinton Foundation. Made public a video showing an Apache military helicopter killing civilians, and so on. So this is why they going after Julian Assange. But I say I always love having Zoya on because she has a ton of receipts. Zoya, any last thoughts? Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, so we see, anyone that is refusing to acquiesce to the mainstream narrative is going to be prosecuted. We saw it with Assange, with Snowden, and with countless journalists around the world. But this ties back into, actually, I brought up that theory with you on Colin, that is what I observed throughout the decades, is that they make up these heroes and villains in our politics. And then the heroes start saying things that are cringe or go against the left, but because they're people like the Squad, people lend them credibility and don't question what they're saying. And then they'll have the people who are villains actually saying our positions, but because they're villains, we're expected to go against those narratives. Like if Margie Taylor Greene suddenly starts saying we should have Medicare for all. I mean, these people are so programmed with this celebrity worship and this feeling of misplaced loyalty towards complete strangers who ultimately serve the same donors. And the wealth gap and war has increased under every single administration. And the worst of things is happening under Democrats and Republicans. As we see, they're all outdoing each other. And things for us are getting materially worse. So we got to stop buying into this personality debate in politics. We have to look at things for what they are. And it is objectively easy to observe that taking community funds and investing them into things like education and health care and housing and all of these other things will prevent crime, will prevent people from even being in situations that deem them a harm to society, and therefore we won't need cops. And most importantly, cops are not effective in any sort of measurable way. That's the data. They just have PR departments that spend hundreds of millions of dollars trying to convince us that the thing we're scared of, they're going to somehow solve. Well, they aren't. Community solves that. Work with your neighbors, know your neighbors, protect your neighborhoods together, prevent the reasons that people end up in poverty, and you will prevent crime.
And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I usually say Zoe for last because it's always a great way to end a live stream. So I'm gonna be doing these evening streams Monday through Thursday. Nick and CJ show on Monday, and then I usually start my stream at 9 p.m. Eastern at this time, Monday through Thursday. Then I have my guest slot on Saturday. Tomorrow, big guest, Ben Norton. We're gonna talk about Colombia and election in Colombia. So I'm super excited about that. That's gonna be our guest tomorrow at the same time slot. So please hit the reminder. And remember, 9 p.m. Eastern, that's when you're going to have a chance. That's when we're going to have these conversations, the nightly conversations at RBN. So I appreciate all you guys coming on. This was a great conversation. Make sure you guys like and share the stream. And please support the Patreon if you enjoy this content so we can continue to grow. And yeah, we have I saw some people in the chat asking, July 10th, Ron's going to be in Kansas City. If you can make it, my boy Ryder, I saw you in the comments. Make it, come down. This is a community event. I would love to have the opportunity to meet as many of you guys as possible. So mark on your calendar July 10th. And I'm looking forward to meeting you guys. And I'm literally thinking about starting my own, like a mutual aid organization, maybe another tour for a poor. Like I'm literally like doing like the exploratory committee and doing that, right? I might start. I'm literally thinking about knocking door to door on people, trying to get them sign up and for like a tenant year. Like I got all these ideas of things I'm gonna do, but I think Rome coming here is gonna be the catalyst for that, right? So thank you guys for watching. Please get involved in your communities and do whatever you personally can to make a difference. RBN